Hello, this is Jerry,
And Jacob.
and we are two unrelated brothers. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Jacob, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. It's been a while. Busy week.
I know, man. This is like, I guess it's like a way to kind of zen out, Um, lost for words. It's been a long day.
Long week
Yeah,
for you.
yeah, yeah. They don't call it hell week for nothing. But yeah, so it's just been a long week. I mean, a long period of time. We haven't really talked or really anything. So I miss you, bro.
Miss you too, man. It felt like it's been forever since we talked, but I mean, what, maybe a week and a half? Which, I mean, I guess in between episodes recording, that is probably the longest we've gone.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we still text each other and whatnot, but as far as talking or playing games or whatnot,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been quite a while. It's just not getting too much into it. I'm training at work, so that includes a lot of just being busy. It's like
hmm
it's like being at school, except if you don't get it, you get fired and lose your livelihood.
I was going to say, then you got to worry about if you're going to have a home for a bit.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of yeah, just a little stressful.
Adult life.
Yeah, for sure. But you've been okay?
Yeah, I've been good. So I know the last time we talked, I was still sick with Corona, and then since then, I mean, I've made pretty much a full recovery, so I'm pretty lucky with that. And yeah, I would say like for about a week now, I've been pretty good. So yeah, no complaints there. Work's been fine. Was able to get back, no problem. So kind of the opposite end of you. I've been actually trending on the upside, which I'm
That's
glad
all
at
right.
least one of us was, because if we're both down, then crap.
Hey, man, that's what we're here, man. We're here for each other. Yeah, man. So, what's today's episode gonna be about?
Well, I'm glad I mentioned too when I was sick the last recording, because we talked about Max Payne 2 the last episode. I felt bad because I felt it's not my fault obviously, but like I just wasn't totally into it because I was just sick. I didn't feel good, and it sucked because I really love Max Payne 2, and I just felt like I couldn't really give it a good analysis as well as I could have if I was at 100%. And I bring that up because I was at 100% for the thing we're going to talk about now, and that is the 2008 movie of Max Payne. And I am very upset at that because I wish those roles were reversed.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. So the history with this movie,
Yes. I love the story. Go ahead.
oh, so I saw bits and pieces. So my dad, he's a police officer, near where I live, and cops can get extra jobs, and one of the extra jobs he had was at a movie theater. And so I used to go and, watch movies, and I would stay with him at work. And I mean, we would stay at the movies until it closed down, like at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
So I would just, walk into whatever movie. I was like, oh, Max Payne. I didn't really know the video game. Max Payne 3 wasn't out, so I didn't even know about that, because that was like my first real intro into the game.
Wow.
And I sat in it. I watched maybe 30, 40 minutes, and I just got up and walked out. It was horrible, but I forgot it, because it was an unremarkable movie.
Yeah. I mean, that says something when. So 2008, we're like freshmen in high school.
Yeah.
It's not like today where, we're older. We're like, I guess we have like less patience, that kind of stuff. Like you just know like, oh, I'm not gonna like this. I'm out. I don't have enough time for this. You're a freshman. You got all the time in the world. Even if you don't like something, like, yeah, I'm just here. Why not? So for you to go like, fuck this, I'm out. That really says a lot.
Yeah, man. And I really like Mila Kunis. Mark Wahlberg, I don't think was as big as he is now, but I mean, had nothing against him for sure.
So say, yeah, I even at the time I was fine with the casting. I thought it was solid. And the trailers looked good. It didn't look like amazing, but it looked like okay, or at least be, entertaining.
Yeah, well, you know what? James McCaffrey and the voice actress who played Mona Sachs, I mean, they look like their characters. I would have been happy if they would have got somebody or people that looked more, I guess, closer to the characters, because they're definitely out there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, like, especially since this is I guess we're just kind of jumping into it. This movie is based mainly on the first game, so having Mark Wahlberg like that, the short cut and clean shaven and stuff, that makes sense. I could see that. It does make sense for the first game.
Yeah, because he's the most different looking.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like his style too. The wardrobe makes sense. Just nothing remarkable about it, but that's Max Payne.
Max Payne.
Exactly. I like Mila Kunis. I did back then. I still do now. I don't know if she was. I don't know if she's like best suited for a femme fatale kind of role.
Yeah, so
I like her a lot. She's beautiful, obviously, but like,
she's beautiful, good actress.
Mhm.
But like you said, she's not a good Mona Sachs
Yeah.
at all, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like maybe the direction she was given. I mean, obviously, part of it's her fault, but I feel like they're also given direction from the director, what they're looking for in the character and whatnot, and it was not a Mona Sachs vibe.
Yeah, not at all. And kind of like what you said, sure, it's partly her fault because she is the actress, but she was barely in that movie. I was kind of surprised how little she's actually has anything to do in that movie. Like, she's the second build, behind Wahlberg. So I figured, okay, she'll have a lot of screen time too. She's really not in the film.
And they really twisted and moved around some odd parts of the story for the original Max. So the Max Payne movie is basically the first game, essentially. And they just really twist everything up. And Mona Sachs, I guess, is like this. In this movie, she just reminded me more of like maybe an underlord or like maybe a gangster boss's, assassin.
Yeah.
Whereas in the first games, I mean, she might have been in that role a little bit, but not too much. And then, well, I don't know if you want to get too into this yet, but the game or the movie goes, I guess, more into a first-person perspective of what the effects of the drugs are.
Yeah, so if anyone who doesn't see this movie isn't aware, of it, I'd be surprised if he didn't. It should be obvious. Not a fan of the movie. Not even like, it's just not good. That's the best way. That's what I'm gonna say for now before we get into it. Going into this, I had low expectations given what you told me, and I've seen reviews of it. Obviously, and I just thought, okay, my expectations so low, it can't disappoint me. And for the first bit, it was like, okay, it's boring. This is what I would expect. And then like the last third of the movie, it's like that's when the wheels came off. I'm like, oh, this is why people are upset. Hi, Mila. Sorry, the cat just jumped on my desk.
Nice.
What about you? I'm assuming probably the same.
Yeah, so it was like cheesy, but like bad cheesy. Like Mila Kunis was walking around with the MP5 like randomly in the streets. Like it just, I don't know. And what's crazy is like like in, for instance, John Wick, like there's all sorts of weapons training. They go all out for safety to make it look as natural as possible. Well, in the movie, I mean, the weapons handling does not look natural. It's like these are clearly people who don't or are not familiar with guns or weapons of that kind of that sort. They look awkward for the most part. There's a couple scenes in there like there's Mark Wahlberg doing a bullet time jump backwards with a shotgun, where he's shooting a guy, and then whenever these guys get hit with shotguns, they get hammered and they fly like all the way across them. That was kind of cool. Like those were a couple cool parts. But yeah, it was just super cheesy, and the opening of the movie was good. I was like, okay, maybe I wonder why I walked out. This seems pretty interesting.
Okay, so like let's, because this mostly be a negative review. I feel like let's try to start off a little positive. What did you like about the film? You mentioned the opening.
Yeah, I really liked the opening. I feel like, so I thought it was kind of cool how they gave a little bit more of an insight on what the drug was like. Because in the video game, you see what the drug is like, but from a dream perspective, right? You're knocked out, you overdose. But this is but this gives them more of an idea when when the person's awake. Kind of in a way explains the psychosis. I kind of like what they did with Lupino, because it makes sense that they created it. Basically, Valkyr, they created it as a morale booster for the military. And when because in the movie, in the video game, I don't think this is the case, but in the movie, Lupino was a Marine and was taking Valkyr, and he was talking about how it made him feel at peace, how angels were with him and protecting him. He felt peaceful. Yeah. So that was kind of cool how it didn't exactly follow the video game. They kind of twisted that and made Lupino like this Marine who had prior experience with the drug. And whereas in the video game, Lupino was like just a club owner, I believe. Yeah, it was like on his face. Yeah, it was like a mob underboss who do Valkyr, and that like he went off the deep end and got into like the occult shit. Yeah, so because of that, it seems like they made his experience everybody's experience. In the video game, he's talking about, I tasted the blood of angels or the flesh of angels. And, you know, and in the game or in the movie, when people are on Valkyria, there's like these angels chasing them. And that's kind of why they go into like this psychosis or kind of fleeing, you know, they're fleeing something and you don't really see what it is. And then it shoots their perspective and they're seeing these angels try to kill them, which is kind of interesting, but I felt like they went a bit overboard with it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so like before I get into that, because I know I told you how I felt about that part. So like, I agree. I was thinking the opening because and a little spoiler too, I did end up playing a little bit of Max Payne 3, and from all 3 games and this movie, I've seen the trend now that this franchise loves starting their story like near or like at the end, and then doing like, you know, flashbacks to like how it happened. It's not particularly my favorite thing, but for this series, it makes sense, and I'm fine with it. So, and it opens with him like in the, you know, I don't know what river exactly, but like in a frozen river sinking, and it just opens up with, you know, a monologue where he goes like, I don't believe in heaven, I believe in pain, I believe in fear, I believe in death, and basically like kind of get the vibes of like, okay, it's like a cutscene in the video game, you know, like how he's like talking and stuff. Yeah. It's not like I guess as poetic, as dramatic as in the game, but that's fine. You know, it's still very much the vibe that made sense. And I was like, okay, this isn't too bad. The way it opened to, and then right away I could tell like they did do their research on the game, because he goes in the subway, and one of the streets in there is Roscoe Street, which I recognize from the first level too of Max Payne 1. So from there I could at least say like, okay, they're aware of like minor details like that. So okay, they'll at least pay respect, you know, to the source material. Yeah,
it wasn't. It just didn't.
Like I said, that was the first start. I said, okay, it's gonna be okay. It can't be that bad. And I will say they did use a lot of characters. They did do some references. Yeah. But unfortunately, that's just me just going, oh, I remember, that's not going to make it good. And then it started going bad for me when, like the guys he's trying to interrogate, one of them leaves, and the guy he's talking to, he's like talking about angels and shit. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, because he's tripping out. And then it jumps to like a guy in the subway who's kind of like tripping balls, and he sees like, kind of like what you said, like these demon or angel shadows going around. And I feel like if they left it at that, like just the shadows going crazy, I think I would have been fine with that 100%. And then, especially like I said here, that's what it all is like all over the subway he's tripping out. Then because he's in the middle of like an active subway too, then you know the subway comes and fucking runs him over, and like, okay, kind of a wild opening, but I'm fine with this. And then after that though, it's like nothing really happens for a bit. I can't really tell you like the next half hour or so. And I will say too, I know the one of the producers or the directors who helped like make Max Payne a reality game wise. And I have to agree with his criticism as well. His initial criticism was he thought it was a very poor decision to have it, to have Max's, you know, origin, so to speak, not be the opening scene.
Yeah, that is a criticism of mine as well, because, you know, the game did not pull any punches when it came to Max Payne's family getting murdered, whereas I felt like the movie pulled some punches and moved around some stuff and took out a really big element. As we talked about in the last game, you know, this whole thing was military, you know, like a secret military kind of project, and it still is a military project, but it's definitely not as dank and dark as it was in the it was a little bit more open in the movie, I feel. Yeah.
So like, when I you know, when I was going to the page to like, you know, rent this or saw this on Amazon, when I saw the rating, I think that's when I kind of knew like this is gonna be bad. And this movie is rated PG-13. Now, I am not one of those people who just thinks, oh, PG-13, it's gonna be a bad movie. There are plenty of good, dark, you know, PG-13 movies. But trying to make Max Payne a PG-13 movie is I can't understand the thought process there. Like, if I were to just tell you, Jerry, like if you just didn't know about Max Payne, you know, and I said, Jerry, okay, we got this video game here, we want to try to adapt to a movie. This is what it's about. It's about a guy whose wife and infant newborn daughter are killed in front of him, and he's always a cop, and then at that he spends the next few years of his life, he's a man on a mission. He just wants revenge. That's all he cares about, and his references to alcoholism, and he's abusing painkillers, not outright, but his references to that. And then it turns out that he has self guilt because he feels like he's partly responsible for it, and then he realizes this thing goes deep, like to the top, maybe even government level deep. Now that film, I think we can make that work PG-13.
Yeah.
And then you go, all right, yeah, that can work.
Yeah, it was so much. I mean, it had a lot of stuff. Oh, here's a random piece of trivia real quick.
Yeah.
So James McCaffrey was in the movie.
Oh yeah, he made a little cameo. I think I saw that.
He was he played an unaccredited role as Jack Talenti, an FBI agent.
Right. It's like near the end, right? I think that was like
yeah.
What's his name? I can't forget. Ludacris is in this movie. His character, I forgot the fucking character name. He introduced him as like, this is a real cop.
Yeah.
I completely. Who did Lucas? I know Ludacris is in here.
He played Lieutenant Jim Bravera.
There you
which
go.
was so interesting to me because in the first game, Bravera is the lieutenant, but he's very much against Max Payne. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the movie, he kind of isn't all the way against him. He seems more of he starts off as a neutral force and then almost as a helpful kind of force towards the end of the movie.
Well, because he's in internal affairs in this one.
Yeah, and he's figuring out something sneaky, something fishy is going on. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the video game, he was very much against Max Payne the whole game.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like in charge of trying to like catch him and stuff.
Yeah, so that was kind of interesting. And then the fact that Ludacris played Jim Bravera, it was very interesting because Jim Bravera in the video game was like this old fat white guy.
Yeah, and what really killed it for me is not just that. So I thought, oh shit, that's my first thought was when I saw him pop up, like, oh shit, that's Ludacris. And then second, they said, oh, this is Jim Rivera. I'm like, what? Like, I have nothing against doing something like that because in this sense, whatever race or gender he is has no effect, on the story.
Yeah.
But it was the fact too that he dressed just like him too. So I'm seeing Ludacris in this trench coat and this old man hat. It's like that just doesn't work. Like I'm just not feeling that.
Yeah, it's just.
If it was if he was like older or something, I hate to make this reference, but it's the first thing that popped in my mind. It was like Morgan Freeman from Seven. That's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But
yeah, not
it's
Ludacris.
Like this. Yeah, it's like this. I don't know how old he is at the time, but early to mid 30s guy dressed like in these 1950s attires. Like this is just like I can't. It kind of took me out of it.
Yeah, it's just such an odd. It
wasn't bad. It was just like you said. I saw that. I'm like, huh, that's a choice.
And what's crazy is it seems like he was almost like it says here. The role was originally written for a 60-year-old man, but after auditioning, Ludacris got a call from Moore, and had the part. So that's kind of like he just because his performance didn't like blow me out of the water. So like how bad were the other guys? And who were the other guys who because Ludacris is not a horrible actor, but he's not
he's not Oscar worthy.
He's not Daniel Day-Lewis.
Exactly. He's fine, especially for a rapper turned actor. Pretty damn good, all things considered. But yeah,
Fast and Furious is the
perfect.
It's good popcorn. It's good popcorn flick.
This is not meant for that. Yeah, and oh man, who do you think had the best performance in this film? If you could even think of someone.
Oh shit.
Because it's definitely not Wahlberg. And again, I don't hate Wahlberg. I know some people don't like him. I can definitely see why. But he's done a lot of movies I like. So I would say I'm a fan of his. At best, he was bland. At best, he was bland in this movie.
I feel like it's a tie between the person who played Nicole Horn and Ludacris. And the reason why I say that is because Nicole Horn, even though she's the main antagonist in the video game, in the movie she's almost non-existent. Yep. So she doesn't really have much of a role to play. And then in the and Ludacris, because like I said, he's not a bad he wasn't cheesy like the rest of them. Like Mila Kunis' Monosax was super cheesy. Mark Wahlberg was kind of cheesy. This made up kind of fake character they made, B.B. Hensley.
No, he's on the game.
No, it says
he was on the game.
Really? He was in the game. Who was? So he was okay. So I guess maybe because he plays
he
a
played
different.
I would say he was such a smaller role in the video game though. Whereas here,
Yeah.
yeah, he's the main villain. We'll get into that later, but
Which I don't understand why they did that. I think what the plan was to maybe come out with a sequel, and they wanted to stretch out Nicole Horn because she was almost non-existent. But yeah, that's crazy. I really don't remember BB at all.
Yeah, that was during the what's it called, the parking lot section.
Okay.
Like the parking garage. That's
Okay,
where that was. As I'm saying, it's so small though. You kind of just, I don't blame you for forgetting. I only remember because in the movie he says, "What does BB stand for? Backstabbing bastard." That's really the only reason I remember his character.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. So, but yeah. So I actually liked, as much as odd as it was. I did enjoy. Well, I'd say enjoy is kind of a strong word, but I had nothing against Ludacris's performance as Jim Bavara, because he was just acting, but not putting too much, not overacting, I would say.
Yeah, where do I go with this? I mean, I guess I'll try to summarize it real quick. So it starts off, like I said, with that, like him with Max Payne sinking like in the bottom of the river, flashes back to, what does it flash back? All right, to Roscoe, the subway, he's trying to find out shit. He goes to some like weird ass party, and that's where he like runs into Mona Sachs and her sister. So at least they keep that consistent. Her sister, Natasha. By the way, they're Russian in this movie. Doesn't really matter, I guess, but it's just, I don't know. I just find this funny. Like even now, but especially back then,
that was like the thing to do.
Yeah, it's just. Oh, there's a mob? Russian. Like, just didn't really matter. It had no effect on the story. It wouldn't have been better or worse. But I just immediately saw them like, wow, they just really had a hard on from just making any mob that they could have in a movie Russian immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and not even like that really super cheesy Russian accent too.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, if you're gonna go for it, just fucking go for it,
Yeah.
Is that Jeffrey?
That is Jeffrey. Jeffrey, what's wrong? Jeez.
So before I go into this next part, what part did it like lose you? Where you're like, I'm only watching this now because we're gonna talk about it.
Oh man, I would say probably closer to the end. I guess maybe.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because it was like, yeah, whatever. But, man, just maybe that whenever they introduced what happened to his wife and baby, like when I saw like they changed it from like these crackheads to BB, and he kind of realized it was BB because he looked back at his memory and saw him in a reflection on a.
Okay, so yeah, that's where it just completely. That's funny you bring that up. That is 100% the part where I'm like, oh my god, I'm done. But where it started like losing me as far as like my faith in like, oh, this could be a decent film, that plummeted whenever you saw like Mona's sister Natasha goes with Max to his place, and she's trying to like seduce him, like, and it just be kind of bitchy, like, well, not bitchy, but like just kind of like, because she doesn't know, like just saying like pretending like, oh, I'll pretend to be your ex, whatever, not realize like his wife was murdered. And obviously he's like, okay, get out now. We're not having this. She ends up taking his wallet, which is important. I don't know if they shows that. That might have been actually a nice little detail had they hidden that well. She's high on Valkyr, I should add. That's important because as she's walking out, calling people, she starts seeing like, the shadows of the angels. And at first I thought, okay, I'm cool with this, just having a bad trip. It happens. And then it fucking shows them like bad CG, and it just shows them right there like attacking her. And obviously in my mind, I know she's hallucinating. It's probably someone attacking her, and it is teased like it's Lupino, and it was. But the way that was happening, I was just like, oh no, this is bad. Like, this is not okay.
Yeah, it was just.
That's what I started laughing. I hate to say that, but I was like, no, this is bad. This is so bad.
Yeah, I mean, it really was a chore to watch this movie. I was like, I got to do it. I got to do it for you. I got to do it for the podcast. I got to do it for our many, many fans.
All 10 of you. Thank you, though.
Yes.
For me to say that as a dick. Yeah, I'm sorry. No, thank you all for listening to this nonsense. And this is the exciting incident, though. Like, her death, because like I said, it was important that she stole his wallet because it was found on her. So obviously the police are like, oh shit, like he's the last person that saw her and the wallet's on him. Mona ends up finding that out too, that she had his wallet on him, so she wants to get on him. And it kind of takes off from there, and that's when they find it. Breaks down kind of similarly to like what happens in a video game, very broadly, structure-wise. I mean, it.
Another scene that absolutely killed me was the scene where they're interviewing Lupino and he's still in the Marines.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I told you his uniform was all fucked up. The ranks were upside down. So like, I was in the Marines. I was in the Army for a number of years, and. So like military kind of thing, especially something easy, like they could have literally hired somebody like a veteran or whatever and said, hey, just show us how to put on this uniform and we'll pay you, $2,000. That's probably nothing to them, But no, instead they had him going all fucked up, his ranks upside down. It was just such a, like, kind of like in the movies when you see somebody wearing the a military uniform and it's zipped up all the way instead of flipped down with the collar. Because usually I have never in my career worn my uniform zipped up all the way to where the collar's like up on your neck. It's just nobody does that. I know it's a nitpick, but yeah, so that was just kind of odd.
No, I can see that. I know you told me that beforehand, and so I was waiting. I'm obviously waiting. Like, okay, let's see if I can notice it. And I wrote down, like, I mean, I've never been in the military. I am not a military buff, so I don't know a lot of these things. So I saw it, like, yeah. So when again, let's just say, like, so I saw this, like, I didn't see it, but I can understand where you're coming from because, I mean, it's like I majored in chemistry, so they butchered something very basic chemistry wise. Then I'd be like, even though like 99% of the people watching it would like not care at all, me, it's like, really, like that's so simple. Like you can't just Google it, So I understand.
And I'm not even like a super, try hard. Like I was in the National Guard, like I'm not super gung ho. Like,
yeah,
let's do this. But it was just such a bad screw up. It's like, yeah, like you said, like, imagine whatever your job is, if they showed it in a movie and it's just totally screwed up.
Yeah, it's just added on the shit pile.
Yeah, like I don't know, whatever, like if you're a teacher or an x-ray tech or a doctor or whatever, and they just totally fuck something up, it'd just take you out of the scene, I guess. But yeah, that just killed me, because it's like a good like 5-minute segment.
And it's so bad that they did it like this. So like how they reveal, Max's backstory, and like I said, or the complaint was like, it didn't start at the beginning, and I agree with that. But if you're gonna do it at least in the middle, if I can, go for it, like show it like how bad and tragic it was. Because obviously, just hearing about that, a man losing his wife and infant daughter, you can just know, like, all right, that's bad. But in a movie, I'm not saying show the corpses fucking bludgeoned and shit, but you gotta show something, man. It's gotta be a little brutal. I hate to say it, but it has to be. It's a brutal thing. And the way it was, like, revealed, Max, that's the thing, too. I hate this so much. Max never once talks about it. Just like, I can understand that to anyone else because he doesn't want to talk about it. I get it, but not even to himself. Like there's no inner monologue besides the first part of the film. Nothing. He expresses nothing. It's other people saying this is how Max feels about it. It's like I want to hear him talk about it. Well, I want to hear his pain.
So the game's a noir, title. Did you feel like this game hit the noir aspects very well?
There were some shots in there. Like I could see it a bit. There were some shots in this film I was like, that's nice. I like that a lot. Where like, especially in the snow, it was very Sin City-esque in the best way. Yeah. I really like that. That's probably one of the few. I like how immediately we went, let's talk about some of the good things. We talked about one or two things and immediately went into the bad. I mean, that tells you how bad it is. But no, one of the bright spots I feel was the cinematography. Like I said, when they did the shots outside, it's not super saturated, but it's saturated enough to where it kind of goes into the black and white. And some of the camera work of just the snow falling and stuff, like it's nice. So and even though like one specifically, like one spot specifically, even though I don't like the angel bit at all. Especially like them being revealed, I should say, when they're talking to like the last guy that Natasha called. And he's tripping balls, he's like, the angels are coming, they're gonna get me. And like, he's backed up against that open window.
Yeah.
And like, he's obviously like, oh, he's gonna commit suicide. So the way it's shot is, Max is trying to catch him. It's from the side. The camera pans, and when it goes like to the outside, like of the wall, the transition is very nice. And it's like, the angel, well, I guess in this point, maybe the Valkyrie, that's what it's meant to be, pulling him out. And that's how he falls, like, and falls down to a car. While I hate the idea of that, it's a nice shot. I can't deny that. It was a really cool transition.
Yeah, because it's like, is this real or is this
exactly? That's what I was thinking too. Because he fucking flew.
Yeah, because it wasn't like, oh, I tripped and like, I'm just tumbling backwards. It was like, it shows that thing pulling him. Yeah, he's flying back.
Yeah, that was weird. Also, I would say too, real quick, Mona's reaction to that was hilarious. When they're in the car, she goes, "Hey man, just some of the shit, people go crazy. Just jump out windows sometimes." Like that, and I'm like legit. Like I'm not even dead. Like I know that's kind of deadpan, but that was her delivery. Like legit, just talking, like looking at Max and going like, "Hey, don't worry about it. Some people go crazy sometimes. They just jump out a window." It's like, what?
What the fuck?
Like what? Like I understand. You've probably seen some crazy shit. I get it. And this is like another day in the office for you. This is Tuesday, but just like, yeah, whatever. Shit be crazy, yo. Like that. Like that is the energy, and it was fucking hilarious.
So I was trying to.
Sorry, yeah.
No. Yeah, you're hyped up, man. You're hyped up. That's good energy. I didn't mean to. But what I wanted to ask is, so what makes something noir? You seem to be a lot more informed on it than I am. From my understanding, noir is something like really slow paced, almost like a black and white kind of stylized, almost like a detective kind of thriller kind of vibe movie. But you seem to be a little bit more. So what is your opinion? What makes this noir? Or what makes noir movies noir?
Man. I think noir, it doesn't have to be black and white, but it's gritty. It's obviously got to be a crime film.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like whoever the main protagonist is, he is not a typical, hero. Not necessarily he's a villain or an anti-hero, but he's very flawed. He's cynical, and he's not a white knight. At the very least, he's gray. The shades of gray to him. You root for him or her. It's just typically a male-dominated genre. And you root for them, but you understand too, like the things they're doing. Like, that's a little like, at best, ambiguous.
It's like by any means necessary. Like, as the ends justifies the means.
Exactly. It's like, if I had to say that's a crime film, definitely, or a crime book, it's in the crime genre, and it's not happy. Like I said, it's cynical, and the morality is like, it's not black and white, which is funny because, the film is. I guess that, I'm sure there's people who could break that down better, but like what you said, like it's a little more realistic. It shows like, the underbelly of like not just crime, but just like of, society and people, and I think that's what I feel like that's the best way to describe noir, which is for me like Max Payne to a T, specifically the first two.
Yeah.
Third one's noir elements, but it's kind of a different game. But that's a conversation for a different time. So with that, I guess this movie is a noir film, but I don't think it executes on those ideas well.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to clarify because I know maybe because I'm not 100%, like I said, I'm not 100% sure. I just, whenever I think of noir, I think of like a black and white movie like Sin City. But just, and I wanted to get your perspective. To me, you're more of a film buff than I am, for sure.
That's definitely a big part of it. I don't blame you at all. Like think of Chinatown. That's noir. I was gonna say, not Sunset Boulevard. What's that other one? There's a bunch. I feel bad for not remembering them. But basically like that. I would even say freaking Seven is kind of like a noir, even though it's not like what you would think. I think it fits that very well. Just a different, it's in a different subgenre of noir.
Yeah.
So like this is that, but it's just not done well. And part of that is, I think, because it couldn't be brutal about it. Like I said, when it finally revealed Max's backstory through BB, not even through Max, through BB, saying what happened, it's like, it's this super like, what's like yellow saturated, like that filter, it's got a yellow filter. It's supposed to be happy. I get that. And this is kind of where I saw the bad acting. Like Mark Wahlberg has this stupid ass grin on his face, looking at pictures of his family on the fridge. It's like, that's where I was like, okay, no, this is ridiculous. That's really cheesy and bad. And then like he hears shit upstairs. He goes up there. He has to kill a couple of guys who seem like they're druggies. And he goes into his bedroom and he shoots at a guy jumping out a window. He misses him and he runs. He sees his wife dead on the bed. Was there blood on her?
Yeah, but like very minor.
Very minor, right?
There was no like wounds that were visible.
Right? There was no like red circle in her belly or nothing, right? It was just like maybe a little blood out the nose or mouth and that was it.
Yeah, it was.
It's like, how did she die? And then and again, I get, especially in a movie, you can't do this. But like, it did not indicate at all. Like, I guess you just knew that the baby was dead. But like, put a bloody blanket on him, man. That's it. I don't need to see it. That's fine. But nothing. You know, like you said, it just kind of cut to what's that thing called? Those little like things you put above a baby's crib.
Oh, the mobile.
The mobile, yeah, like there. And this is what you were talking about before. Like they're kind of like reflective, and that part is important later on, but you probably won't catch it the first time. And it's just like, and the way it happens, just like, it's meant to be epic, like this, like super sad and epic. And it's just like this, and the whole time I was like, this is horrible. This is a terrible way to show what happened to him. Like, did you feel that same way where you're like, oh no, I can kind of see this?
Well, because it's like, why? Because it's like this fucking guy, Max, has been on this crusade for many, for 3 years.
I think so, yeah.
And then all of a sudden he remembers a fucking reflection in a baby mobile. Like, why wasn't that? Yeah, why the fuck? Like, right when it happened, years later, it's that clear to you. Why wasn't it so clear to you right after it happened? That makes no sense whatsoever.
I know. It's like, it's just like that whole thing was just terrible. Like, because this is BB, who used to be an old friend of Max in the police force. So it's like kind of like a mentor for him. And he's talking to Jim Bavura about this, saying like pretty much explaining like, hey, you gotta watch out for this guy. This is a man on the edge, essentially.
Yeah.
And I thought like, okay, you know what? I'm not a fan of this. Like at first, like, but maybe they'll show it well. Maybe it'll be really well shot. It was not. It was terrible. Because like I said, in the opening of the first game, that's what I meant. Shows him like happy, he's all cool, living the American dream, like you said. At the police station, he goes home, and then again, they do not fucking hold back. His wife is in the baby's room, fucking crib, knocked over. Like I said, you don't even see the whole baby, but you just know you see a bloody sheet, and you just know like blood blinking. Like, oh no, the fucking baby's dead. And his reaction is perfect, just that pain, like no, and he goes, and his wife's dead, on the bed too, like all bloodied and stuff, like. And even though it's a little cheesy, him holding his dead wife in his arms, going no stuff, like. First time playing that, even the second time, like, Jesus Christ.
Well, I will say that what made it even worse was the fact that you can see in his dreams he feels like he killed his family. And not only that scene where you got to follow this blood trail, and the whole time you're following this blood trail, there's a baby screaming and crying on repeat. That was like, and then for me, it took me like 50 times to beat it. So it's just like I'm listening to this for like a fucking hour, and it's just like, Jesus,
this is hell. Like this is his life,
Yeah.
And that's another big thing too. In the game, it's revealed that his wife wanted to talk to him about something weird that was happening, and he brushed her off. And he feels like if he didn't brush her off, and she was able to talk to him, that would have prevented her death, but the baby's death. So like that's why he like. That's a huge thing too. I think it gets lost in translation in so many adaptations. Is that I feel like a lot of times they just focus on the external factors. Obviously that's important, but what makes Max Payne such a great character is the conflict within, like how like it's just so much self-hatred and stuff. And I get that's heavy, but like that's Max Payne, like fucking that you have to go through that. And I feel like. I know against cheesy, it's like kind of like it's not really a popular thing to do anymore. But again, especially in this kind of thing, he's got to be able to talk to himself a bit, even if it's just like for a couple scenes, just to express himself. Because again, I have no idea what he's thinking. I don't like, obviously I know he's pissed and he's sad that his family was killed, but does he blame himself? Does he like, I know he kind of blames some other people for not, not being able to like do all that they could for him. But, I don't know. Like, it's other people saying how he feels. It's like, I need this guy. Like, if I didn't know Max Payne in the film, I'd be like, who is this guy? Why is he like this? Like, what's he trying to, like, obviously I know what he's trying to do, he's trying to get revenge and stuff, but like, how's he feel about this all himself? I don't know, besides like, I'm sad and mad.
Yeah, it was. I
And
just
it
feel like,
seems like I'm being a little nitpicky, but like, it's so important. Like, that's such an important part. Like, you can't just go like, I kill men and that's it. Like, you got to go deeper than that.
yeah, for me, it was like there's a lot of, like you said, secondhand, like people saying he feels this way, he's a man on the edge, and it was not a lot of him emoting on how he felt, even to himself, because like I wouldn't say so much in the first game, but more so, I'd say the most in the third game. He's this guy who's an alcoholic. He's on painkillers. I'm assuming some sort of opiates. He's a very troubled man. He has his addictions, and that I don't think there's a single time they make a reference to the painkillers or to whiskey or anything like that.
Yeah, like I'll cut them slack, because this is, like you said, especially in the third game, this is where like that's brought up like full fucking force. Him being an alcoholic and abusing pretty much any kind of like painkillers.
Yeah.
But even at least in the second game too, or even the first one though, where the painkillers like heal him and stuff, that's basically so he can't feel. So at least you gotta have the painkillers. And as far as the alcoholism, like I said, not like full force. It shows him like drinking in the games, but like Bravura always like mentions to him a couple times, "Hey, come with me to an AA meeting. You need to work on this." He didn't have to show him drinking; just show like a couple of empty bottles of whiskey, around his place, and then you'll know, the audience will go, "Okay, this man is drinking a lot." So obviously he is trying to drown his sorrows, and then he's taking all these medication because he doesn't want to feel. Like, that's all it takes, and then you can kind of like and that tells you so much about his character. Like, he just doesn't want to feel or remember it at all. Like, he doesn't even want to like attempt to process it, but he still like wants to get revenge.
Yeah, it was so I don't know. It just lacked soul. Like, it lacked the soul of the game. And then not only that, they cut out, it seemed like a big, like this whole G-Men subplot where there's like this, government people, secret lab that you're going into. Like,
I think you were right, in that they definitely wanted it to be a sequel. And you know what? I think, did you know there was a post credit scene?
No.
As
soon as it was done, I cut it off.
Me too. So I was looking, obviously looking up a little bit of trivia just to, have something else to talk about. And then one was like, oh, there was a post-credit scene. Like, what? It's nothing crazy. It's just, it's like Mona and Max in a bar or something. I don't know, somewhere. They meet up and they're just talking for a bit, and they see on the TV, oh, Aesir's stock has risen, and Nicole Horn is like great and all this. And they just kind of look at each other, and that tells you, like, all right, now we're going after Nicole Horn, but obviously that didn't happen. So you were right in that they probably did leave out a lot of that stuff, specifically the government and Nicole Horn, for the sequel that never happened.
Yeah, I did not. I don't know.
It's like, and this is just talking about certain scenes and like things that were missing. We haven't really gotten to like you said, like, I think we kind of agree, like the part where it's like, oh no, this has gotten real bad. So like you mentioned, like, the drug is like, this whole thing is supposed to make super soldiers basically, and Lupino was a Marine, and that's how he got into it. And now he's like I think he's like distributing it.
Yeah, he's in distribution for profit now.
Yeah, so you see that, and you see him like fucking like shirtless in the cold on the rooftop, just chugging Valkyrie, and you're like, oh god, this guy's like, it's basically a boss fight, like this is what this is, which is it is. That makes sense, but he's getting ready because Max is gonna go in there and try and kill him, and like you said too, like, oh, like it makes you invincible and stuff like that is what they say, like in the little video thing, and some other characters say that. So like they ended up like fighting, and Lupino's like getting the upper hand on Max, and he's about to like he's got a machete, and he's about to like freaking kill him. Then BB comes out of nowhere and like shoots him one shot and like the sternum, I think it was.
Yeah,
right, the sternum.
Yeah, dead center in the chest.
Yeah, and then he's just like, oh, and then he falls over and dies. I'm like, that's it. That's what this is. That's what it took to kill him.
Yeah, he's supposed to be an amped up super soldier. The angels are on his side.
Yeah. Like one shot to the sternum. I've read stories like people on crack who take like 20 fucking bullets and they're still going. And this guy like has his super soldier serum which has been taken for years and it's like, oh, one shot to the chest, done. Like it was just like so bad. Like not even Max could do the job. And that's another bad thing too. Max could even be the one to kill him.
Yeah, because in the video game, he really is like a one-man army. And it wasn't until the end that he kind of is going on his rampage and just, basically making people fly across the room with the shotgun.
Yeah, so like I've been talking a lot about this. So I'll kind of like let you take this part then, because like since we've been referencing this part, it's like so that happens, I think, did you get the sense the first time around that BB was kind of be bad?
Yeah.
I kind of did. It wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah.
It felt off.
Yeah, so I saw this part. I'm like, this is probably what the twist is. So he's like, oh, Max, I'm good now. And then you take it from here.
Yeah, so basically BB takes the place of Nicole Horn with the whole rooftop I guess that whole rooftop scene with the helicopter. But before that, Max gets injected or somehow gets Valkyrie in his system, right?
Yeah, it's like this is like I think it's the end where he kills like he's about to kill like the main mob boss, and then the G-men come out and ends up killing him. He has to fight out, and that's when he gets captured. And like Nicole, that's when it's revealed that this is Nicole Horn. She's the big baddie, and then injects him with the Valkyrie, and then that's when like he has his bad trip in the game.
Yeah. So in the game, the G-men are here. In the movie, there is no G-men. There's like FBI. But also, so Jim Rivera is kind of tipped off because there is a big shootout at the Acer headquarters. And I guess he's calling saying, hey, there's a shootout or whatever. What units are here? And I guess the person, the dispatcher's like, oh, no one's been called out. So at that point, he kind of realizes, okay, something weird is going on here.
Right.
So there's a couple of scenes with the shotgun where he's just kind of doing like this, martial arts, I guess, shotgun, kind of gunjitsu kind of shit. That's kind of cool. But overall, it was just a little too late for all that. Like by that time, I was totally pulled out of the movie for the most part, I would say. Yeah,
and the next part coming up, I guess the third act, is where it's just like, here it is. Not only have the wheels come off, the bus has exploded as well.
Yeah, they're like, so the Acer building, they're rigging it with explosives because Mac is on Valkyrie and it's going crazy.
Well, what's very important, something that happened before that though. What led to
that? So it's the revelation that BB killed his family, right? That's what kind of sets it off. And they throw him in that river, really cold ass river from the beginning of the movie. And what, he has Valkyrie in his pocket or something? Is that what?
Yes. Yeah. So like I think it's BB and like his dude. I don't know. I can't remember his name. Like his his goon essentially.
Henchman, yeah.
Yeah, henchman. And it's like, okay, we'll be fine. It's all good. And then like his henchman knocks Max out. And then like he's all tied up. And while he's, walking by the bay side, he does the typical, villain monologue where it's like, oh, I didn't want to do this, this terrible thing. And he tells Max, like, I was the one who killed your wife because I guess similar to the game, at least, his wife found some classified files about Valkyrie and it implicated BB. And so to protect himself, he ended up killing his wife so that it wouldn't get out. So, because, surprise, surprise, BB's like the big bad, killed his wife, and he's the one like who's distributing Valkyrie. He's the main guy. Max just has this dumb look like, oh god. Honestly, a lot of the Happening vibes from him after this part. Just complete dumbfounded look on his face. And And that's when he puts Valkyrie in him. It's like, oh, we're gonna, give you cement shoes, toss you in there, and they'll be like, oh, you were like, you OD'd and you just committed suicide.
Yeah, and so somehow he kind of just, it's that kind of classic scene of the person's talking to themselves, the loved one's family member, or the family member comes and says, Max, it's not time, or you gotta avenge us, and he just opens his eyes and floats up to the top.
Yeah, that part. Oh man, like I knew they were going for it, and I think if it was just poor, like I said, great idea. I get it. I mean, that's, if anything, that's one of my favorite scenes from, like, a little off topic, but similar. It's like one of my favorite episodes in, the first season of The Punisher, where on Netflix, where, like, he's getting the shit kicked out of him and he's like on the verge of death, and it's like kind of like him, like kind of like almost like going into the afterlife, and he sees his wife and stuff, and him is like, like, it's not my time yet. I'm not ready. But the way that's done, it's like a little realistic, and like it's kind of like, he's just having like basically a spiritual journey. Here it's just kind of like like I felt like, oh shit, we have to get him out of this somehow. Doesn't make sense for Mona to be there. So let's just say he gets like a sudden, burst of energy because he has a dream that his wife says, "Not yet, Max," and then boom.
Yeah,
like, again, I like the idea, but like it's just the way it happens. Like that's just.
And then so like there's a scene of he's in the he's in the Acer what is it, the Acer place, what's the
I guess the headquarters, the building.
Yeah, he's in the Acer headquarters, and he's making his way up, and he's just plowing through everyone, just no problems.
Yeah,
and the henchman's rigging explosives so that way Max can't make it to the roof. And at this point I think Max has maybe been shot once or twice.
Yeah.
And it's his moment where he's coming at odds with the Valkyrie, and the angels are coming towards him.
Yeah.
And Mona Sax is there to pull him and bring him back to reality. And then all of a sudden he shakes it off. He's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, it's like, you might notice too. Wow, this is the first time you mentioned Mona in a while. Yes, she is almost pointless in this film. It is very sad, and again, probably because they wanted a sequel. But man, they did her dirty in this one.
Yeah, and like I said, nothing against Mila Kunis. She's
I like her a lot.
I love. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but she's just not like you said, a femme fatale.
You know what's crazy? I'm reading this now. Apparently, she did go through weapons training.
Yeah, I'm reading. I read that too. That her favorite part of playing the role or preparing for the role was weapons training and safety, which included disassembling and rebuilding an MP5K blindfolded, which absolutely did not need to happen. There was no scenes like John Wick 3 where Halle Berry's just there's no scenes like that with her, really. I mean, there's a couple, but like very cheesy, no accuracy. There's no need for like a badass realistic looking reload or anything like that.
Which again, that really just goes to show that's not on her. Then she grossly overprepared, and that's not her fault, obviously. That's just because they didn't give her shit. Yeah. Like you said, like, this is what kind of was losing me too, when he comes out of the, he escapes from the river, and he's basically like, he's gonna get hypothermia because he's in the cold ass fucking sub-zero river.
Yeah.
And he still has the Valkyrie in him, and he takes it, and like I get it, you're gonna die from hypothermia, so may as well try this just to see if it works, get it. But it was like this is again the cheesiness, but not in a good way, like the video game Max Payne. Like he takes it, he's like, as fucking like angels coming out from the sky behind him. There's like fire and stuff. Like, oh my god, this is hilarious. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was. I don't know, man. It was.
And again, there were some cool shots in there, like him hallucinating about this stuff. It's in that sense not terrible, but again, I'll have to bring it up because it's based on it. In the game, his trip is basically his guilt over his family dying. And here it's just like spooky Valkyries,
Yeah.
And it's just like, it looks cool. I'll give it that. It does look cool, but it's
not
pointless.
Max Payne.
Exactly,
Yeah.
it's pointless. How is this? What does this have to do with him? Like, if like maybe one of the angels sounded like his wife or like a baby crying or something, okay, that works. That would have been something, but no, it's just demons. I'm just like you said, like all it takes is moments like you're not done yet, and it's like, oh, you're right, I'm not done yet. There's still like 10 minutes in this movie. Like, it felt like that. Like it was just a checklist. Like you're not done yet, and it's like, oh right, yeah, we still got time.
And basically after that, he goes up to the roof and kind of has that little boss battle with BB, and BB calls Nicole Horn and is like, hey, we need the helicopter, and it never arrives. Right?
I would say calling it a boss battle is it's giving it a lot of credit.
Well, yeah.
He's just there like waiting. He's like, oh, it's not gonna happen, and Max is like gonna shoot him just about. And he goes like, oh, don't you want to hear my confession? And he just like shoots him once, and that's it. Like I wish there was more, but like he just shoots BB once. I guess it's kind of slow motion a bit, I think. And then shoots him in the chest. He falls down, and again looks like Max is okay with dying. Doesn't. It's just him on the ground, like basking in the morning sun, with like SWAT behind him, and then literally that's how it ends.
Yeah, and Jim Rivera pops up, and it's just. It was a horrible movie. I know it was almost torturous watching it. It
went from really dull, like, okay, I'm not gonna like this, but it's fine, and then it went from dull to holy shit, this is a bad movie. My last freaking notes, because I did take some notes on this handwritten, just so I could remember it, because I knew I wasn't gonna remember a lot. It was just awful. My last words on this film.
So, was there really anything else good that you can think of about the movie?
We didn't mention probably the best part of the movie. I think we alluded to it. There was like one really good bullet time little section, and that was in the scene right before he fought Lapino, where like he's like in the warehouse, or like where they make Valkyr, and there's a guy like on a stairway above him. He's on the ground level, and he hears them, and he sees like he's about to shoot. The guy has an assault rifle. I'm not even attempt to know what kind of gun it is, and Max has a shotgun. So without looking, without turning, Max, cocks his shotgun, and as he's turning back, he jumps back in slow motion, and starts trying blindly shoots the shotgun in slow motion. And while that's happening, it shows the baddie shooting at him in slow motion with the bullets, and it's really well shot. It's really fucking cool. I've got nothing bad to say about it.
Yeah, that was a cool moment, and there's a couple other moments like that.
There were a little other ones, but like that was the best one by far.
Yeah, and I wish that they would have brought more of that in, and more of making him, I guess, like a real vengeful person. I just felt like he really. He wasn't trying to find his wife's killer,
Yeah, it was just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah.
Like if he's gonna be like, either he's just a pure force of nature, vengeance personified, or make it more of the detective side. They didn't do either of those really, and it really suffered.
They tried to do a little bit of both. And
that's what I'm saying.
Horribly.
Yeah. If you're gonna do that, you gotta do both. And again, I'm not saying making it rated R would have helped make this movie good, but would have given them more stuff to do. It would have really helped it. I feel like. I'm not saying I need to have them curse all the time. That's fine. There's not really a lot of cursing.
There was one F-bomb. There's one F-bomb, and they wasted it on Mila Kunis. Yeah.
I heard it. I'm like, oh, there's their F-bomb. Like I said, so it's not even like the cursing I want, because again, in those movies, in the games, they don't curse a whole bunch. That's fine. Yeah. I don't need a freaking titties all over the place or nothing. That's fine. That's not what this is about. It's not like being crude. It's just I feel like they couldn't really dig deep into the nature of the story, because it's PG-13. We need to make sure 13-year-olds can get in here to see it without a parent.
And I feel like a lot of 13-year-olds wouldn't even really be aware of what Max Payne is.
Yeah, it's not like it just. I mean, well, I guess the second one. Shit, we just did an episode on it. Come on, Jacob, we should know. I think the second one came out in 04? 05? Yeah, 03. So. 03 or 04, yeah. So wasn't super old, but wasn't super fresh either, It wasn't like if they made a Halo movie, that's obviously going to be the shit. So like, yeah, just go for it. Just go hard. Like, go hard on it. Instead of just like, well, we got to make sure it's, marketable. Like, it's not. And it's a tragedy of Max Payne in a way. It's not marketable, but it's a damn good story, and you just got to, go with it. I noticed in the beginning with certain like hits, when I say hits, like physical hits, there was like flashes of red on the screen. It was almost like kind of like if you got shot in the game, like those flashes of red.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I kind of like that. I can understand them not wanting to go too overboard with that, but I actually did dig that a bit. It gave it a little bit of a little bit of style there that it desperately needed. And then like for some reason, like maybe like I said, maybe after the first half hour, 40 minutes, just stopped doing that entirely.
Yeah, so those sections were kind of cool, but it was just
boring.
Yeah,
it was boring, and then it went from boring to just batshit insane, not in a good way. Just it made no sense. It was asinine. But like I said, like to give it a little credit. I mean, like I said, probably the best thing about this movie was the cinematography, and I'm not even saying that was like beautiful, but it was good. Like I said, there was plenty of good shots in there, and I do want to say the cinematographer for this film, Jonathan Sella, I'm hoping I'm saying that right. He has a hell of a filmography.
Really?
Yes.
What's some of his?
So his first movie is hilarious. Soul Plane. I know. That is not what I expected, but that was his first movie.
Yeah.
You gotta start somewhere, I guess. Hey, you gotta start somewhere. And I guess the next big one, which is actually the first time he worked with the director of Max Payne, John Moore, the 2006 remake, The Omen.
Okay, that was not amazing, but
I would say, yeah, I heard mixed things on it, at the very least. Then, obviously Max Payne, John Moore. Then he did Law Abiding Citizen. Which I liked it. I don't remember much of like the cinematography, but it was a good movie. I liked it.
Well, so which one was that one?
That was the one with Gerard Butler. It was like killing people from his cell because like he was pissed off that his like wife's murderer and rapist got away.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember that. I don't think I've seen that actually.
And then he worked on A Good Day to Die Hard.
Good Day.
Which I think was the last good Die Hard movie.
Wait, was that the one with Justin Long?
I think so.
Okay, that one was good.
It was funny. Same director of Max Payne, John Moore. It's just a funny world we live in. And I'm so glad you mentioned this before. I was waiting for it. He did cinematography for John Wick.
What?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I guess he learned. He learned from his mistakes.
I wouldn't say just that. He just kind of just does what he wants. Then he did Transformers The Last Night.
I don't think I've seen. Yeah,
then he did Atomic Blonde.
Atomic Blonde. How was that? Have you seen that?
I've seen bits and pieces. It's very. I mean, I don't want to say it's a female John Wick because I'm kind of like doesn't give it credit. But it's in that same style, a femme fatale.
Yeah.
And it's got that vibe too, with the flashiness and stuff. So that definitely is a good comparison. Deadpool 2.
Nice.
He did Hobbs and Shaw. So yeah.
Oh my God.
So I think at this point he just does what he wants, which is good for him. So like he's very capable of like it seems like he's very capable of doing great work, obviously. But I guess like if the paycheck's good, he'll fucking do it.
Yeah, Hobbs and Shaw.
You know what? Hey man, you do you. If he does that to make money and then he's like, all right, I'll do these other ones just because I want to do it. Fucking go for it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's
quite the resume.
Yeah. Popcorn flick, Hobbs and Shaw all the way to John Wick.
Yeah, that's a crazy one.
Man,
like I said, that's like the highlight, and like I said, and this one was fine. I've been saying a lot. Like, what is the highlight of this film to you?
The ending credits.
That was over.
No, the ending credits look cool. Like they legitimate, like the gun and all that stuff shooting. Like that was. I was like, oh, it's a lot cooler than the movie.
Yeah. Okay, I get what you mean. This was about an hour 40 minutes. Boy, did it feel like it.
Oh my God!
It felt like 2 hours.
I was 40 minutes in, and I was like, oh, "Fuck!"
It was like an hour. I thought the same thing. Like I paused it to go to the bathroom, and you pause it, it shows you like how far you're into it. And I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? There's 40 minutes left of this."
Yeah, it was.
Oh
I was like, "Fuck." You felt every second of that hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, Mila, I love it. You gotta go, girl. She keeps jumping on here. So, Jared, I don't know if you saw this already since you're looking up like stuff on it.
Mm-hmm.
What would you guess the budget on this film is?
200, I don't know, maybe 200 million?
Okay, thank God. No, it's not that high. Not even close.
Good.
This is good. 35 million.
Okay, I'm not a good. Every time you ask me this question, I'm either like super low or super high.
That's good. No, it's fine. 35 million. I'm sure most of that went to Wahlberg and Mila Kunis.
Yeah.
So now that you have that, what do you think it made at the box office worldwide?
10 mil.
It wasn't that big of a bomb, but it didn't make a whole lot. It actually opened up number one. I guess, like I said, I remember the marketing being good. It made about 86 million.
Oh.
Yes. But
okay.
also keep in fact too, like, so that's obviously good compared to the budget, but also keep in fact too, a good rule of thumb in film is whatever the budget is, double that to include marketing. So if you include marketing, probably costs around 60 to 70 million. So in total, probably made 15 to 20 million, which for a film like this, that's a shit ton of money, obviously.
Yeah.
But for a film, it's definitely disappointing. Because I imagine too as well, it probably didn't do well on DVDs, or I guess at that time Blu-ray was a thing, or just probably become a thing. So yeah, it made some money back, but it obviously didn't do well enough for them to go, all right, it had bad reviews, but at least it made money. We'll make a sequel. It's just like it reviewed poorly, and obviously didn't make enough money. Sequel never happened, which I can't even imagine sequel to this.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I'm done talking. I'm just. It just was not.
Took out of you, man.
Yeah, because Max Payne 3 was such a good, such a good game. I'm playing. I started playing it as well.
Yeah, so like the original plan was to do a different game, and then we would jump into Max Payne 3 for the next episode, talking about this, and then we both said we started it, we'll probably actually end up doing Max Payne 3 and seeing how that is. I think it's probably best that way to have the first two games still relatively fresh in our mind, and now the movie, and just go like, Jesus Christ, like this was definitely the worst. This is definitely the what's it called, the pit of the series.
Yeah, and I have to say I'm pretty proud of us, man. This is episode what? 16?
I think it's gonna be 16. Leo, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so this is episode 16, and it's like, obviously, like, our production value, like, it's just me and you, editing or whatever.
Yeah, we don't software.
With free software, we have, $30 mics. But yeah,
I'm kind of out in the open, and I don't have an office for this, so which is why I keep saying like, damn it, to my cats, because as I speak, there was one right here. Just you have to roll with it though.
Yeah. So there's definitely some, I guess, worse podcasts. Speaking of that, you sent me a video, man, that cracked me up. It was made by Penguins, right? Penguins.
Moist Critical, better known.
Yeah, that guy's. I like him. He does.
I love him.
The Russian slap competitions.
Yeah, he does all those things. He does a lot of stuff. It's actually crazy what he does. But yeah, he did a breakdown of this podcast. I wanted to share it with you because there are times we do this and it's like I said, especially after the last episode, like I said, through really not our own fault. I was sick and all that, but it's like, that wasn't the best one. We've been improving steadily, and I felt like I regressed there. I wasn't feeling too good. And then, I see this and it's like, what? No, man, No, we're good. We're fine.
Yeah, man. It was just,
we were, I don't want to get too much into it. The video showed it was like, not only are these guys like, it's the usual. I'm not judging them too much on this specifically because, they're stuttering a lot and there's just like, it's a lot of filler and stuff like that. And we have that, but this was like like on steroids. Like every third word was some kind of weird noise or like blah, 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 like that. Like it was hardly sentences. At least we speak sentences in between, a little bit of flubbing.
Yeah, and even we're passionate about gaming, but we may not be passionate about here I am stuttering, and we just.
I'm not judging too much on that, but we can communicate.
We can communicate, but even if we're not excited or hyped up about a game we're doing. We're hyped up about gaming as a whole, right?
Mhm.
Games, comics, movies, whatever. So I feel like, definitely may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I think there are some people who can find some enjoyment from the podcast for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, like people saying like, oh, why are we bringing that up? Then if that's like the worst thing about them, that's not the worst thing about them. They are fucking horrible. Like they're dude bros, which is putting it nicely. Just like talking about how much they hate women, basically, and just guys you just don't want to be around at all. Like they're the guys who go like, oh, women only care about looks, and then the next sentence go, man, if my bitch gets fat, I'm leaving her. Like what? Go fuck yourself. Like what?
Well, it's people, the kind of people who say, hey, don't judge us as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Don't judge, make an assumption from one person and judge everybody off that one person, and then they go ahead and do the same thing.
Exactly that.
And they just to give them some slack. I mean, they seem very young, maybe younger than us.
I hope so. I I really hope so.
Yeah, and like maybe they haven't hit their stride yet, so it's all, when I become successful. So I don't know. Hopefully they just one thing I wish is hopefully they mature a little bit, and
I'll say that. Yeah, like fuck them now, but I hope they grow up.
Yeah, and if you have a guest, don't be because we haven't had any guests yet. I'm hoping to have maybe Baby G or another listener or so on. But yeah, they just
be respectful.
Be like, even if you didn't like your guests, like you would try to have a conversation and maybe at least come to a point of understanding where you don't maybe accept what they're saying, but you understand where they're coming from, I guess.
Exactly.
But all this just goes to say, I'm pretty proud of us, man.
Yeah, and like if you're one of the few people who like thought this film was okay or liked it, by all means, good for you. We're not. I've heard this line before, and I think it's important to say now because I feel like this is probably the first episode where we were like very negative on something. At least other times it was like at least mixed. Like Fear 3 was probably the most negative, but even then we said we had fun with it still.
Yeah, and we can go play this. We can go play fucking Run today and have a blast. This
was like the first like horrible time. I did not enjoy it. But if you and few people who like, or many, I don't know, it's probably dozens of you who like this, then you know what? I'm not judging you on that. I'm criticizing, this movie, not you or your taste, So I think it's important to distinguish that. Like I'm shitting on this movie. And if you like it, I would say, and if you like it, you know what? I'm not shitting on you. But this is how I feel about it. If there was someone talking about how much they liked it, I would give that a listen because I am genuinely want to know like why. And even if I completely disagree with it, maybe they would say something where it's like, you know what, I didn't look at it like that. That's interesting.
You know what? And this happened to me very recently. I want to give a shout out. I need to look up who this YouTuber is because I don't want to end this without saying who they are. So let me look this up while I'm talking about it. But there was a guy. Remember how I shitted on Kane Lynch 2 really hard? Yeah. There was a guy who he was doing an analyzation of it, and man, he just brought up some really good, badass points. Mm-hmm. And really just, I guess, turned on, or basically, because it's been a while since I watched, or since I played Kane and Lynch 1 or 2, and I shit on Kane and Lynch 2 a lot. But he was talking about how, for instance, I didn't like the whole camera thing, how the camera was all blurry and there's like a lot of defects when you got shot, and how the audio wasn't crisp because it's all mimicking I guess the point of view like somebody's recording everything.
Right.
He was talking about how interesting that was, how it was purposefully ugly, how the ugliness served a purpose.
I think I might know what you're talking about. I think I might have seen this thumbnail recently too.
Yeah, and it wasn't G-Man Lives, so I watch a lot of his stuff. Mm-hmm. But he talked, he kind of, I don't want to say shit on Kane and Lynch 1, but he kind of did. But then he talked about Kane and Lynch 2, and then talked about the abrupt ending.
Yeah.
And kind of talked about how that was purposeful, and it just really changed my perspective on the game to the point where I wanted to go back and replay it. Especially now that I have like, you know, a better setup, I would say. I would definitely like to come back and give it another try, just because it really, I mean, from what he was talking about, it just hyped me up.
Yeah.
So that just all goes to say, like, just because you don't like something or you like something doesn't, I mean, hey man, do you?
Exactly. And if you agree with something we said, or you think like, oh, like overall you agree with the message, like, oh, here's another thing though that I didn't like personally, please, like, tell us about that. We'd be interested to see that. And if you liked it, you disagree with some points we made, we'd love to hear that too. Even if we don't like, at the end of the day, we don't see like, oh, like I disagree entirely wholeheartedly with you. Like, it's always good to, like, kind of try to appreciate something from like some kind of perspective. Like I said, as much as you shit on this, I can at least tell you like 2 or 3 good things or like nice moments. Nothing's like 100% shit. I mean, well, maybe some things, but we'll get to that. Hell, I mean, I'm waiting for the day where like we talk about something and we have different opinions on it. I don't know when that'll be, but I'm sure that'll be a little fascinating conversation there. Okay. Whether it be a game or a movie.
Yeah, so not to cut you off, but I did find this video.
Oh yeah, go for it.
It's by Jacob Geller, and that's Jacob space Geller, Geller, and the title of it is, now I realize why I watched it, is Max Payne, Kane and Lynch, and the Meaning of Ugly Games.
Yeah, I've seen that one. I haven't watched it, but okay, and I'll give it a try now.
Yeah, definitely give it a watch. And it talked about how he, didn't really play Kane and Lynch 1 because it just seemed like it lacked a soul to him, I guess.
Yeah.
But he replayed Max Payne 3 over and over and over and over, even though the game was 10 hours long. Because he basically said, Kane and Lynch was 3 hours long, and that's how long if you look in the Steam library, that's how long he played Kane and Lynch.
Yeah.
Whereas Max Payne was 10 hours long, he's played it for 60, 70 hours, because while they're both trying to do similar things, they're trying to tell a story about, people who are morally ambiguous or whatever. I was going to say Mad Max. I keep on doing this. We need to review that game too. It's long, but it's a good one.
Oh, I'm down. That's what she said.
But yeah, so Max Payne, it does it so much better than Kane and Lynch, but then he goes into Kane and Lynch too, so that was kind of cool. Another one that I watched that was good was called "You Should Really Play Kane and Lynch 2." No, seriously, by Leadhead, all one word. Okay. So yeah, I just want to give those a shout out because it was just interesting. I enjoyed it.
Definitely more than you enjoyed it more than Max Payne the movie.
Jesus, you have no idea.
I mean, yeah, like I said, I say I don't like doing it. I do it every episode, though. So we're just gonna. This is how I'll always finish it. I'd probably give this thing like 3 out of 10, and that's being generous. But yeah, I'd give it a 3 out of 10, just out of like niceness to the franchise.
Yeah, it was unfit addition to the Max Payne universe.
Yeah, and I feel like too, if you were like, oh, I like bad movies, I'll watch it. I don't even think it's like a fun kind of bad enjoyable. It's not enjoyable. It's just bad. There are definitely more entertaining movies to see that are bad, I wouldn't really recommend it unless like you really love the series and like, I want to see how it is just to see, then by all means, go for it. But if you're just, curious about it, you're not a fan, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. Oh, shit, what was I going to say? We should really do more, I guess, games that are like mixed or funny, kind of like 50, like that 50 Cent game that came out for PS2. We should find that.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say I think that would be interesting. Like, just something that it might be something out of our wheelhouse that we might not have played, that we may or may not. We might at least enjoy parts of it.
Ow, Mila. She bit me. Yeah, I agree. We've been kind of going with stuff we've been familiar with. Kind of I guess help ease us into this whole, process of how to like, record and talk about stuff. But yeah, I think we're getting to the point where like you can like jump into something, entirely new, where we have like, very slim experience with, especially with the PS2 era, that we'll never run out of games because there are just so many wacky games to talk about there. And not only that, with movies as well. Like I said, I've never seen this. Am I glad I watched it? Yes, but only because we talked about it. If I watched it and didn't do this, then I would have regretted that. I wasted 2 hours of my life.
If we weren't doing this episode, I would have told you just give it a hard pass. Don't mess with it. Man, this episode was a little bit longer than I thought it would be.
I guess when a movie's really disappointing or bad, it's really easy to just kind of get lost in it. I know I ranted a few times.
Oh shit, we fucked up. Or I fucked up. We didn't mention the places to find us.
Oh shit, no, you're good. We're still learning this. Ow, Mila, you're killing me.
Yeah, so we're not much of a Instagram, YouTube people, but we do. Yeah, we have an Instagram. We have a YouTube. We have an Instagram. 2 Unrelated Brothers on Instagram. You can
YouTube?
come. Oh, YouTube, J&J Productions. Also, it's under 2 Unrelated Brothers podcast. If you search either one of those, and I'll put it in the description as well. Give us a follow on Instagram. Share us. If you enjoy us, don't share us if you don't enjoy us, or just do it if you think somebody might. I was
gonna say, maybe you're like, hey, check out these idiots, and then like maybe someone else will go, I like these idiots.
or Penguin Zero will or Moist Critical will review us and say, look at these jackasses.
No, that would be the dream.
Yeah.
We have an email too as well. If you have also on Instagram as well, if you have requests or comments, suggestions, anything like that, critiques.
Yeah, give us a DM for sure. We'll answer DMs or, whatever. If you have questions, for sure. Interact.
If there's a game maybe you like, because there are sometimes I look for a game like, I wonder what people think of this. And I just can't find anything, maybe like a paragraph of 2. I'm sure there's a bunch of people who like games like that. And you're like, I wish someone would talk about this. Let us know. For us, I would love to, like, I don't want to always do, I guess the well-known games. Obviously will do those because, they're fun. But, I'd love to go into like those like lesser known games, those obscure games or movies, any kind of like media like that.
Yeah, like a game, movie, or a piece of media that you look at and you're like, yeah, this is my favorite, but no one ever talks about it.
Mm-hmm. Like you talked about PsyOps. I never heard of it.
Oh my God, PsyOps.
Exactly. Or like you just mentioned, like 50 Cent game. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are like 50 Cent had a game. Exactly.
He had 2 games.
Oh shit, you're right. Yeah.
50 Cent Most Wanted on PS2 and Xbox.
And then Bulletproof, right?
I think the first one maybe was Bulletproof, but the second one was called 50 Cent Blood in the Sand.
Oh my God.
Where he goes to like Afghanistan or Iraq.
Oh my God. It's all coming back to me. We're doing this. I don't know when we're going to do it. We're doing this though.
Yeah, we got to. I'll look on Mercari or Amazon, see if I can get us a copy of it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, do you have anything else, bro?
Aside from that, from where you can find us, we'll work that into the intro eventually. We'll get better. We're working on this. We just recently did that. Like Gary said, like I said, interaction is probably the best way for us to grow. Like I said, if you have suggestions, critiques, we're big boys. Just don't be a dick, and we'll take your suggestions or anything to heart. Like we genuinely like doing this, and it's just a hobby right now. But if you think there's something we could do better, by all means, tell us. We're all about that. If we can get improve, our what's it called, our
format or show
format, exactly. That's all about just trying to have fun, but also, make our content, I guess more palatable. There you go. Thank you. I can't have a speech impediment, and I do a podcast. That's fantastic.
And if you are a dick, we'll take that dick. If you are a dick.
Jerry speaks for himself on that one.
Begrudgingly.
We'll see how that is. No, I think we've said all we could about this. Definitely myself. I think I let it all out. I think I can rest easy now knowing I've talked about as much as I can about this movie. What about you? You think
Yeah.
have you made peace with it, knowing now like, oh, this is why I left that theater?
I felt like I lost an hour and 40 minutes of my life that I'll never get back ever. So
I'm glad we could do that.
yeah. But yeah, man. Well, yes, guys and gals, our listeners. Thank you for being with us. Hey, you hear Jeffrey? Oh, hey, Jeffrey. Come over here. Come on. But thank you all for being with us and listening to us. I mean, we're now 16 episodes in. Hope you're all enjoying. Like Jacob said, definitely send us any ideas, games, improvements or reviews of our podcast, things that you think we can be doing better or suggestions. We love y'all. And, we're just, this has been a really fun experience. Even though we're only 16 episodes in, it's really is a blast, and I'm playing and watching things I never thought I would, I never even thought about doing, and it kind of opening my horizons. So with that being said, y'all be safe. And I love you, bro.
Yeah, I love you too, man. And just like Jerry said, this has been a fun time. And just when he told, just hearing to like, oh, it's a small number, but just hearing like 100 total listens on Spotify, that's pretty wild to me. I thought that would take like 10 years to get, like, just because no one would care. So getting that already, that's crazy thing. It's very humbling. It's a cliche, but it's crazy to think there's some people out there who like take some kind of interest in this. So thank you very much for that. I know we speak for both of us. We say we greatly appreciate that. And yeah, like you said, I love you too, brother. Take care, and y'all be good. See ya.
See ya.